Hello. Today I'm going to look at how you can create different types of sentences by correctly using commas and subordinating or coordinating conjunctions. So here we go. Oops, hold on. So I'm sure you've seen this before, but this is a very nifty trick. It's called fanboys, and this will help you remember the common coordinating conjunctions, which are F, for, when it means because, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So fanboys. This is a useful trick. So the first thing you have to remember is in order to use these fanboys correctly is to look at an independent clause. And so an independent clause is like a complete sentence. It has a subject, a verb, and it expresses a complete idea. So here, the little boy, subject, ate is my verb, the pancakes is an object. Of course, sometimes you don't have to have an object. You could just say, I am. That's also a complete sentence because it expresses a complete idea. So we use a fanboy conjunction to join two independent clauses, and you put a comma before the conjunction. And this is what we call a compound sentence. The little boy ate the pancakes, comma, and he didn't feel well afterwards. Or I could say the little boy did not feel well, comma, for he ate the entire plate of pancakes. In this case, the word for means because. Note that if I use the word because, I don't use a comma. The boy ate the entire plate of pancakes, comma, so he did not feel well. But don't overcorrect. Please make sure you don't use that comma all the time. For example, you could say, I would like to go skiing and skating this afternoon. Do not use a comma here because in this case, I don't have a complete idea. Another use of the comma is to join a dependent clause to an independent clause. So a dependent clause is like a group of words that maybe has a subject and maybe has a verb, or undoubtedly, but it doesn't make a complete idea. For example, if I said, because he likes pancakes. Because he likes pancakes, comma, which is my dependent clause, he ate 26 of them for breakfast. Is my independent clause. But don't use a comma if you begin your sentence with the independent clause, meaning the little boy ate 26 pancakes for breakfast because he likes them. Don't put the comma. No comma. Subordinating conjunctions include, there are others, but this list, although, as, because, before, etc. I'm not going to read all of them to you since you can read them yourself. For using subordinating conjunctions, if you use them at the start of your sentence, comma, you use a comma to separate your clauses. But do not use a comma if your subordinating conjunction comes in the middle of your complex sentence. So a complex sentence is when you have a dependent and an independent clause together. So there are 4 types of sentences. Simple is when you just have a basic group of words that has a subject, verb, and expresses a complete idea. I didn't finish my homework last night. Compound, 2 independent clauses which are equally important, and they're separated by a comma and a coordinating conjunction. Complex is when you join an independent and a dependent clause. You have to watch out for the punctuation. Sometimes you need a comma in the middle, and sometimes you do not need a comma in the middle. And finally, the most difficult one is a compound complex sentence where you have 2 independent clauses plus a dependent clause, and you have to really watch out for punctuation. Because I hadn't finished my homework on time, comma, so this is dependent, I asked my teacher for an extension. This is independent because it's a complete idea, comma, and she agreed to give me one. This part, she agreed to give me one, is an independent clause also. Or I can change the structure. I asked my teacher for an extension. This is an independent clause because it's a complete idea with a subject and a verb. But I don't put a comma because I have the word because in the middle. I hadn't finished my homework. But if I start with because I hadn't finished my homework, that is a dependent clause. It cannot stand alone as a sentence. She refused my request is an independent clause. I'm joining it to the rest of my sentence with a comma. So that's the most difficult type of sentence structure. Commas in a list, there's really no fixed rule, but sometimes it's better to use a comma to avoid misunderstanding. So you could say, my dog likes to chase cats, squirrels, and the mail carrier. Personally, well, we call this an Oxford comma. Personally, I like to use the comma just because I think it makes things very clear. Apparently in French, you do not use the Oxford comma. Here's an example of, if you don't use it, the mistake that you can make. You could say, I would like to thank my parents, comma, Santa Claus and the Grinch. In this case, it looks like your parents are named Santa Claus and the Grinch. So if you use a comma after Santa Claus, it means you want to thank A, your parents, B, Santa Claus, and C, the Grinch. In this case, the comma would really be helpful. There you go. So how to combine sentences with commas. You can use the comma when you have two independent clauses. And this one, I wanted to leave class early for I had an appointment at the dentist. Again, the for here means because, but it's very formal. We don't really use it very often. You can combine sentences with semicolons. I asked my teacher for an extension so I could finish my project. Semicolon, she agreed. In this case, I don't use any subordinating or coordinating conjunction. Same thing here. And then we have certain types of sentence problems, and you'll see this in your book, the exercises you're going to work on. These are really, really common. The first one is called a run-on. It's where you have two sentences joined together with no punctuation. If you say, I slept for 8 hours, I'm tired. I slept for 8 hours, comma, yet I am tired. Or though I slept for 8 hours, comma, I am still tired. In this case, I'm using a coordinating conjunction. In this case, I'm using a subordinating conjunction. This is probably the most common error. It's called a comma splice. It's where you have two sentences joined together with only a comma. It means that you need a conjunction of some sort, or you need to change your sentence structure. I worked for 8 hours, I made $72. That is wrong. You have two complete sentences joined with only a comma. So that's incorrect. I worked for 8 hours, comma, so I made $72. Or because I worked for 8 hours, comma, I made $72. This is, I think, the most common error that I see. And the last one for today is called a fragment, a sentence fragment. That's where you have a group of words that's missing an essential part. Because she likes shopping. Because she likes shopping what? I need something to complete that idea. When we were helping our little sister with her homework. Again, I need something to complete those ideas. We often see this in dialogue, or sometimes in journalism, people, for whatever reason, they don't write complete sentences. It drives me crazy. Please make sure you try to write complete sentences. So thank you for listening, and have a great day. How do I stop this thing?